Welcome to Fleet News Group podcast, where we talk to leaders in the automotive and transport industries about all things fleet, and especially about sustainable options. I'm Caroline Falls, and today I'm speaking with Chris Noone, the CEO and Director of Carly, a car subscription service in Australia. Welcome, Chris.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Great to be here.
Look, I'm thrilled to get you on our show today, the day of a big announcement from Carly, which is going to be of great interest to fleets around the country. But first, I just wanted to, before I get to today's news, I just wanted to say how much I've been looking forward to our conversation today, because I'm just really curious to hear about the ups and downs and bumps brought about by COVID. I was in Europe, in Switzerland, in fact, for the Geneva Motor Show at exactly the time the World Health Organization declared it to be a pandemic. And of course, the car show was cancelled. But already then, rental cars were impossible to get and trains were empty as people changed their travelling behaviours to get more social distancing. So can we just go back to that time, which is March 2020? What sort of trajectory was Carly on preceding the first quarter of 2020, and what impact did the COVID-induced change, travelling and work patterns have on Carly?
We're only been in business for about a year by then. We launched in March 2019. So we're still very much in our infancy, but growing quite rapidly. We were also a 100% asset-light business, and that means that we didn't own or finance any of our vehicles. We acted as an intermediary between manufacturers, dealers, and fleet management companies to monetize their vehicles. So we did all the marketing, all the ID verification, we provide all the insurance, we do everything except for own the vehicle. So we would connect the subscribers with the owners of those vehicles. So what we saw happening during COVID is demand went up. People said, I don't know what's happening in 6 months. It's probably not a great idea to enter into a lease to take out a loan. And this was happening in businesses as well. But they knew they still needed cars despite lockdowns. You still have to go to the shops. You still have to go to, some people still had to go to work if you couldn't work from home. So there's still high demand for vehicles, but people wanted to take more flexible, shorter term options to get the car that was right for them at that time. If their circumstances change in 3, 6 or 9 months, under a subscription model, you can return the car. So we saw great increases in subscribers. However, we found it a bit difficult to scale the fleet at the same time. Dealers had a restriction in new car stock. Ex-lease vehicles weren't being released into the new car market, the used car market, because the new cars weren't available to replace them. So, and the factories were shutting down overseas, there were shipping delays, there were lots of things going on. So we had to change our business around and start buying and financing our own vehicles. So we had to start from scratch in securing asset finance. We got that, our first round of finance, we built up from that. We showed that the business model was really scaling, and that's taken us to the more recent announcements this year, where we've got over $13 million worth of asset finance available to grow our fleet. So we took the opportunity during the COVID period to really hone our model, really understand the motivations for our customers, both corporate and consumer, to understand why they would use car subscription. We don't see that we are a replacement for buying or leasing a car, but we are a viable alternative for people and businesses who need a car, but probably not for 2 or 3 years. They might need it for 4 or 5 months. They may not need it for another 3 months, or might need a different car, or catching a bus or flying a plane somewhere. Then they need a different car out of that. Those longer terms of ownership don't suit those sort of use cases. And increasingly people are living more flexible lives. And we're trying to meet those needs of those customers by providing the flexible access to vehicles.
You said that Carly sort of really only came into being, what was it, late 2019?
March 2019.
March 2019. So can you just sort of go back to that time as well and just tell me what the idea behind it was and how that idea was formed?
We pivoted from a long-term car rental company called Drive My Car. So we had over 8 years of experience in that business in understanding how to manage vehicles, how to verify customers, how to manage insurance, decrease risk, how to provide very good revenue for owners of vehicles, and how to acquire customers. But we found that the long-term car rental product really wasn't resonating with customers. It wasn't something that got them excited. So we decided that presenting our product as a car subscription business was a much better positioning. It got customers a lot more excited, and it carved out a niche really closer to longer term ownership of vehicle rather than shorter term rental. So we went from an average rental period under our rental model of 38 days, which is quite long for rental. Now under subscription, our average subscription period is over 5 months. Now that's extremely long for rental, but quite short if you compare it to leasing or ownership. So we found that in the car subscription model, we found a much better niche in the market, a niche in the market where we saw that there was a lot of unmet demand. And that really, gave us the confidence to keep investing in the business, because we really saw a market that was ripe for exploitation, where there were a lot of customers that said, I didn't even know your product existed. I wish I'd known, because I wouldn't have made, maybe an inappropriate decision for a vehicle previously.
Just want to get onto the topic of sustainability and sort of how Carly can help fleets as they transition to more sustainable practices. So are fleets a certain and growing part of your business? And just the reverse side of what you've already been talking about, and you said earlier that you originally didn't buy the assets, although you are now, but you were getting vehicles from existing fleets, were you?
That's right. So I can probably answer that question in a number of different ways, but let's start at the fleet side of it. We were securing underutilised vehicles. So these were vehicles that were either used car stock that was maybe a little bit harder to move, or a dealer might have had too much stock that they couldn't sell all in one go. They could have been ex-lease vehicles that were still quite new, that still had a very viable life in them, and the leasing company didn't want to sell that vehicle. They wanted to keep making revenue from it. And then we also have manufacturers providing us vehicles, and a lot of the use cases there were introducing new models to the market, getting presence, getting the ability to do extended test drives in the vehicles. So from a sustainability point of view, we think we were doing quite a lot even before we start talking about hybrids and EVs, because what we were doing was taking underutilised vehicles that otherwise would be lying around. They've been manufactured, we've used the productive resource, the raw materials, the shipping to create those cars. It's a waste to have them just sitting there and depreciating. So we tapped into those vehicles and utilised them. And then on the other side, the way that we help fleet managers is we allow fleet managers to make really strong, certain decisions about how many vehicles they're going to buy, lease or finance, and then give them the flexibility to subscribe to the additional vehicles they may need throughout the year. So if we take a hypothetical example, a fleet manager may own or lease 100 vehicles, but at certain points of the year they might need 120 vehicles. Well, they could be subscription vehicles. And so they can make really smart decisions about how to get the most cost-effective use of their capital. And then when they do have shorter term requirements for vehicles, they can get them within about 2 days notice. So, the whole concept of sustainability has been baked into our business right from early on, even before we started talking about a lot of the environmental and technological changes that are happening.
Fantastic. We're recording this interview in the week prior to Christmas, and today you gave your shareholders a boost with the announcement to introduce some 80 EVs into your service, which, as I said, the share price went up some 15%. So can you tell us a bit more about the development and what it will mean?
We've been providing electric vehicles for quite a while now through our relationship with Hyundai, and they're provided to us on an asset-light basis. And that's been a really effective partnership for us because we've been able to provide Hyundai's customers and our customers with the opportunity to drive electric vehicles for 1 month, 3 months, 5 months, 10 months, so that they can get to understand the technology and also the quality of the vehicles. What we've announced today is that we're going to start buying electric vehicles as well. We feel that the market has matured enough now. The price points have reached reasonable points. We think some of the concerns over residual values have receded now, and we're seeing, reasonably priced 5-star ANCAP electric vehicles now being available on the market. So we think that now is really the right time to start investing into the electric vehicles. And where we see the opportunity here is we see that subscription is a great opportunity for fleet managers and businesses to trial electric vehicles. It is a whole new way of servicing a vehicle, of driving a vehicle, of powering a vehicle. So there are a lot of anxieties and uncertainties, and some of those anxieties are probably unfounded. But the only way that businesses are going to understand how EVs fit into their operations and processes is to actually try it. So what we say to businesses is, if you are interested in EVs, subscribe first, get those understandings, get the feedback from the drivers, get the feedback from your finance department, get your feedback from your fleet department about how they're operating. And then you can actually go in and make very informed decisions about making larger investments. Maybe it's a lease, maybe it's finance, maybe it's purchase of those electric vehicles in the future, or continue to subscribe because you may have shorter term needs for electric vehicles. So we see a big opportunity to really help the transition to electric vehicles, but we also see that subscription will play a greater role in the vehicle landscape in the future, because we don't think that subscription is just the transition part. We see that subscription to electrical vehicles will be more of the norm for a lot more consumers and businesses going forward. At the moment, other technology that we have in our lives, it's really for a shorter period of time. We have our mobile phones for 1 or 2 years, then we upgrade to another one. And it mightn't make sense to buy an electric vehicle every 2 years to upgrade to the new technology, but being able to subscribe to one and then being able to hand that over to someone else and you subscribe to another vehicle makes a lot of sense to people. So we see that there's a really bright future for the convergence of electric vehicles and also car subscription, and we're really pleased to be at the centre of that right now.
You raised a lot of interesting points, and one was you said that now was the right time for you to make this big move. And is that what you're referring to, like the early adopter phase? It's generally considered to be around 5% sort of the market, and in Australia now, the proportion of new car sales that are EV is, I think it's 8%. It could be more. Is that what you're talking about? It's the right time?
That's right. So we see it's reaching the early majority stage. We stood on the sidelines pretty much during the early adopter phase. We watched a number of comparable type companies to ours, especially the rental companies, make big press releases about how many thousands of EVs they were buying. And some of those companies have now come out and said that the residual values have disappointed them, and they've become a bit of an issue. We knew that those residual values would have been challenged because the vehicles were very high priced initially, and everyone knew that the prices would come down in the market. So we wanted to make a strategic decision to enter the market at the right time, and also when it made sense for our customers to enter the market as well. So we're purchasing these vehicles now. We'll have the first vehicles delivered in December this month, and we'll be really ramping up those deliveries through January and throughout 2024.
Oh, I'd love you to tell me, what some of the vehicles are in the range that you're bringing in, and also, like, with such a big order, can you tell us what the EV order lead time is these days?
Well, most of the EVs we're buying, we can get within about 2 weeks. So we're being, I think, wise about the sort of vehicles that we order. We'll strike a balance between value for money, quality, and also availability. But we're seeing that the supply restrictions that were quite prevalent through COVID have now pretty much gone away. If you want a specific car with a certain trim and a certain colour and a certain special variant, yes, you'll probably wait a long time for that car. But we're looking at volume purchases, so we're looking for 5 to 7 year warranties, 5-star ANCAP, good service network, good spare parts network as well. So once we tick all those boxes, they're the sort of vehicles that we're looking to purchase.
When introducing the Carly Car subscription service to businesses, I mean, like your elevator pitch, like what is the biggest hurdle to getting them to buy in? Is it that they're not sure they'll get the value, or is it that they're concerned that they won't be able to work out how to power the vehicle, that sort of thing? There's
lots of different reasons why people would take car subscription, and there's a lot of different reasons why they may a little bit hesitant as well. When people usually secure vehicles, it's either under a long-term lease or loan or purchase, and that's what they've been doing for 50 years. Not much has really changed within that market. If they need shorter-term vehicles, it's pretty easy to go onto an aggregator website and find a rental vehicle. But the challenge there is it's easy and it's relatively simple, but it can be very expensive. And also the prices go up in the holiday period. So what we find is that the biggest challenge of our business, but also the biggest opportunity, is not many people have heard of car subscription. So when we were able to sit down with them for 30 seconds or 1 minute and do that elevator pitch, we actually find their eyes light up. When we talk to them that the average subscription period is around 5 months, they start to think in their own organisation, the employees on secondment, the employees on work probation, the short-term projects they have, the 10 vehicles they've ordered that are not available for 6 months, they start to see the use cases where subscription is suitable for them. Then they start to look at the price and they say, well, it includes insurance, there's no exposure to depreciation, it includes maintenance, all they have to pay for is fuel, tolls or electricity. So they understand the value that's being provided, and we've also supported that value and also that confidence in the product. We've also got an ATO product ruling that covers car subscription. So it defines the exact tax deductibility and treatment for fringe benefits tax as well. So we can provide a lot of certainty to the finance departments of companies that we work with that subscription is recognised by the tax office. Well, certainly our car subscription model is recognised by the Australian Taxation Office, and there's certainty around how tax deductions can be claimed, so that there's no guesswork around what is an acceptable deduction or how fringe benefits tax works.
I wonder if you can tell us how many active subscriptions you have, or how many customers, or if there are any, particular industries that are sort of more favourable than others.
At the moment, most of our subscribers are consumer, and that's because we have been focusing on the consumer market. In September of this year, we established our corporate sales team. We've brought managers in from the leasing industry and also from the car rental industry as well. So we've been hiring from adjacent industries, those people who really understand the other solutions in the market. And those people really looked at car subscription. They said, yeah, this is different. This is really offering something that's quite useful within the market. So we're ramping up in the corporate space now. We've been active in the corporate space through our relationship with SG Fleet. SG Fleet is our second largest shareholder. And the reason they bought into us was that all of their customers very much like their leasing products, but sometimes they needed vehicles for shorter periods of time, and they found that Carly was good at actually meeting the needs of those shorter term requirements. So SG Fleet refers their government, not-for-profit and corporate customers to us to secure those vehicles. So we have had quite a bit of understanding of the corporate space in working with those clients, but now we've got our own sales team, which is also going out there and developing our direct business as well. So as we go into the future, we see that there will probably be a fairly even mix of both corporate and consumer subscribers to our vehicles. But we'll see how that plays out in the next couple of years.
Carly's ASX ticker is CL8, which I guess is a play on the word collaborate. And it's such a big word in business and fleet. I've noticed it increasingly being used over the last couple of years as more and more interest has developed in circular economy, just using resources more carefully, less wastefully. So even though we have touched on a little bit, I'd love to hear you talk about the word collaborate and some of the instances where you might have seen more collaboration in transport particularly. And is the ticker an ode to the word collaborate?
Exactly, and it's very smart that you've picked up on that. Our former company name was Collaborate Corporation. So the genesis of this business was in the peer-to-peer industry. So we're operating in the car rental industry, in caravan rental and equipment rental. So the holding company we called Collaborate because it was collaborative economy that we were working in. Where we found that we had the most traction was in the motor vehicle industry and particularly in the car rental area. Through our journey, we've also been doing rideshare rental, so rental for Uber drivers, and we were the first peer-to-peer car rental company to provide vehicles for rideshare. So that was really the gig economy meeting the peer-to-peer economy. So that was a great marriage of underutilized labour, underutilized vehicles working together. So we've done quite a lot of work in there. But I think that the part of our business that is most collaborative is where we work with dealers and manufacturers and fleet management companies in finding subscribers for their vehicles. They're very good at providing their vehicles through their traditional model, which might be a dealer selling a car to a retail customer. They're really good at doing that. But they don't have a lot of the skills or the marketing channels to acquire subscribers. And what we're actually working on now is a product we're about to release. We've already announced it, called Carly Now, which is an app that allows automotive dealers to sign up subscribers for their own vehicles. So essentially what it does is tap into our back-end platform and create a subscription agreement, collects the payments, applies the insurance to the vehicles. So we don't see that we will take 100% of the car subscription market. That would be impossible. But what we would like to do is partner with a lot of companies from right across the industry to assist them in achieving their aims, either providing another business model so people can experience their vehicles or utilising underutilised assets. There's lots of different ways that companies across the industry can work with us and generate their own revenue, but also to expose their vehicles to new customers as well.
Well, not only OEMs and dealers, but fleets, I presume, could also tap into that.
Yes, that's right. And we've worked with a lot of the leasing companies over the years with ex-lease vehicles. So there's a really good use case there. Selling a vehicle at the end of a lease is not always the best way to get the maximum return on investment from that vehicle. So we've been a great conduit for many of those companies over the years.
Yeah, but not only FMOs. I mean, I'm thinking, about large council fleets, large government fleets.
That's right. So it's about changing the mindset about what is traditional, what everyone else does, and getting people and companies who are looking to try something a little bit different.
We're recording this interview, as I've said earlier, in the last days of 2023, but it's going to air as our first podcast of 2024. So as it's the season for forecasts and looking at what's ahead. Can you give me your thoughts on how you see fleets increasingly adopting newfangled things such as Carly and EVs and technology and anything else they can do to reduce their carbon footprint?
Yeah, well, we think that, car subscription is a great way of achieving some of those, carbon abatement aims, because you're only securing the vehicles for the time that you need them. Under our model, we see that the fleet manager's dream is that they always have an empty car park. That means that they don't have any underutilized vehicles just sitting there wasting money. So the car subscription model can help them in that. The other part that can help, which we've already discussed, is the transition to electric vehicles as well. But it's about making an informed transition to those vehicles. It's a big waste of money if you make the mistakes, if they're not going to be fit for purpose, if they're not going to save money, and they're not going to create a positive environmental impact either. So being able to trial an electric vehicle really gives fleet managers the opportunity to make sure that they're getting the right vehicles for their own purposes. And once they've trialled it through subscription, they can then scale up through either subscription or other means as well. I think what's also important, and a lot of people recognise this, is access to data as well. We have telematics devices in each of our vehicles, so we can provide a lot of data about usage of vehicles, about driving behaviour, but also distance travelled and how much a vehicle is being utilised as well. So going forward, we're looking to utilise a lot more of that data for the benefit of our customers to ensure that they're getting even more value from the vehicles, and that can also have some positive environmental impacts as well.
Well, I think that's a wrap. So I just want to say thank you very much for your time on a busy day for yourself, and I wish you all the best for 2024.
Thanks very much, Carolyn. Good to talk to you.
You've been listening to Fleet News Group podcast. It was edited and produced by Isabella Fiorentino. You can follow us on Spotify. Just search for Fleet News Group. We're also on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube. Our website is fleetnewsgroup.com, where you can get all of our stories, videos and podcasts. Until next time, drive safely and take care.